We're continuing our draft evaluation series, focusing on a glaring area of need for Miami. That's playmaking. We'll break down some of the top passers in the draft, and they come in all shapes and sizes on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. For daily content on the Heat, click that subscribe button on YouTube and make sure you are following us on your podcast app. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Really excited about today's show. It is another installment of our Blue Notebook series, scouting prospects for the NBA draft. Today, we are looking at some playmaking prospects who can help Miami's offense, who could be available at 20 later this month. So we're going to talk about Danny Wolf, Nolan Traore, Ben Saraf, and Hugo Gonzalez. So 4 prospects in total. We'll get into their pros, their cons, some player comps. And at the end, we're going to tell you who we like the most for the Heat. But David, you mentioned it in the tease to open up the show there, but this is a glaring need for Miami. This is not a team that has a lot of high-level playmakers, passers, and it feels like this could be a direction that they go at 20.
Oh, absolutely. I just, when you're looking at a way to jumpstart offense, if you can't get the requisite scoring, and you probably won't find it at 20, at the very least, you can find somebody who's a gifted passer, or somebody who can at least has the court vision to see how plays break down and maybe create better looks for their teammates and easier looks, because that's the whole thing. We've seen this time and time again with this iteration of the Heat, even with Jimmy Butler on this roster. It was just a matter of not being able to find easy looks. It was milking the shot clock until the last second, trying to force something at the very last second, not getting the kind of easier looks at the rim or from three that you need to generate the kind of high volume scoring that makes a team successful in today's NBA. And so that's why it always felt like offense was such a struggle. We've heard this, Eric Spoelstra talking about the team's offense being in the mud, games being in the mud. Well, I'd like to clean them up a little bit, and maybe we can get a playmaker who can actually do that.
Done with being in the mud. No more mud.
No more
let's
mud.
get onto like a nice sidewalk. Something meant for traversing and for walking and for being a good offense. It's a problem.
Let's get a segue. One of those segues. How about that?
Right, yes. It's a problem when your number one passer for a season, Tyler Hero, you could argue was sort of the number one playmaker last year, is a guy who, when he was in college, I remember John Calipari talking to me on the phone for a story I was working on, telling me that he would tell Tyler Hero not to pass the ball in college because he was such a bad passer, and more negative things happened when he passed the ball than when he didn't. And now that guy is your number one passer. The guys we're going to talk about on today's episode, these are guys who are being asked to be passers, but they also can do a lot of other things in some instances, and in some instances not really. But let's start with Nolan Traore, 19-year-old French point guard, 6'3", 6'8" wingspan, 175 pounds. I did the homework on him, and I'll start with the stats because I think they're pretty interesting. He averaged 11.6 points per game last year in the French National League on 39% shooting overall, 30% from three-point range, 71% from the free throw line, 5.1 assists to 2.5 turnovers. That's a pretty good assist-to-turnover ratio. It's nothing crazy. This is somebody who had lottery buzz going into the season. You go back to basically the preseason, people were talking about him as a potential top 10 pick. He's fallen on a lot of boards, and it's mostly because of those shooting percentages. I mean, under 40% shooting overall is bad, and that's where he was for 2 straight years. The athletic gifts, though, jump off the screen. It's great. His first step is as fast as I've seen at somebody his size at this level, at this stage of his career. Lightning quick first step, elite first step, and he gets to it every time. He routinely splits double teams, turns the corner against the defense, gets 2 feet into the paint, and he does it easily. And that's the thing that maybe more than anything is the main takeaway from the Nolan Traore scouting report. And you'll hear it no matter who you listen to, what you read, or just watch the film yourself, and it jumps off the screen. When he does get into the paint, when he gets that deep paint penetration, I like his touch despite the shooting percent. I like the touch. I think it's there. He's a below-the-rim finisher. I think he's got good touch. He's got a little bit of a runner. I think there's floater potential there. I think he's going to be able to get to a bunch of stuff once he gets to the paint. He's a good passer when we get to the playmaking stuff. Good passer, makes simple reads, nothing overly crazy, but makes that simple read consistently, delivers an accurate pass. And that was really the part that jumped off to me too, is the ball location on his pass was always pretty much spot on. He never had his receivers basically, outstretched hands trying to gather the pass, or these crazy wild passes flying out of bounds. Pretty good. He throws a good ball. He can hit the skip pass. His height gives him a chance to kind of make those tougher ones across the court, or get under the rim and make that sidearm throw to the opposite corner. He can do all of that stuff. He doesn't do it a ton, but he can do it. And what I really liked about him too is because he's got that first step and he demands so much attention on the perimeter at that point of attack, he does a good job of using that attention to draw the defense in a different direction and get his teammates open. And so a lot of these passes that look really simple, because they're simple because he's attracted a double team. And he's just got an open teammate. They just, okay, boom, one pass away, let's go. So he does a good job of that. There's things I don't love about Nolan Traore, I'm going to be clear, but Rafael Barlow, who has him at 14 on his big board, over on the NBA draft big board, he's got him as 14. He's the highest ranked prospect that we're going to talk about today, according to Barlow. He thinks he could be the steal of the draft. And this guy does way more work on these guys than you and I do. So I'm not as high on him, but I like that Rafael Barlow is high on him. So that's what I like about him.
Any concerns or from you or from Raphael regarding the level of competition or anything like that? Maybe that may be overstated in terms of...
It's actually one of the things that he likes about him. It's a pretty high level competition where he is in France. It's not Ulm. It's not, it's not the highest level league, but it's not a bad one.
Is he a decent enough defender, you think, that it won't be an issue at the NBA level?
Well, let's just get into the cons, because that's one of them. He's a non-factor defensively. This is, though, where I think this is where the league plays a part, just because it is an offensive-driven league.
Sure.
And I wonder if he's drafted into the right situation, if he can be coaxed into giving more effort on that end. Right coaching, right situation, a place that really prioritizes, such as Miami, right? He's got a 6'8" wingspan, and the athleticism is undeniable. Like, this guy could be a disruptive defender. I think this guy could be A+ defensively if he's coached up right. And he's 19 years old. So I think that's definitely, if I were Miami or another team, I would look at him and say, he's not bad defensively. There's not a whole lot of effort on that end. And he was their primary playmaker, so maybe that's part of it. But we think maybe we can get a little bit more out of him on that end. I think that would be how I would look at it. The swing skill for him, though, is the jumper. Struggled as a shooter, made just 28% of his jump shots overall, 26% on pull-ups, on a pretty big sample size too. Like, this was something that he was asked to do quite a bit, and he did not make them at a high enough rate. The catch and shoot threes he made at a pretty efficient clip, 38%, but the pull-up game is bad. And if he's going to be on the ball at the next level, then I don't know how often he'll get into those catch and shoot stuff, that catch and shoot stuff as much. And it's not even that good of a look. So the shooting is a swing skill for him. And when I talk about his athleticism, I'm talking about like on the ground athleticism, right? Like, this guy's a sprinter, not a leaper. He's a below the rim player, does not dunk, does not finish above the rim. And even with the below the rim stuff, even though it looks really pretty, and I think he does have good touch, the production wasn't where it was. He actually struggled to finish around the rim at that French level. And it's going to be harder, obviously, when you get to the NBA level and you're just playing bigger, longer, more athletic bigs and guys crowding the paint. So that could be a concern too. Like, the shooting percentages are not good, and that level of production, you wish it would have been more given his usage.
You think there's something wrong with the mechanics that maybe Rob Forder can fix or something like that? Or is it just a matter of it didn't hit them at a high clip?
I don't know. The mechanics don't look great. They are not broken. And it's not like one of these wonky, like Michael Kidd Gilchrist shot. It's like it's nothing crazy like that. It's a little bit of a hitch. Maybe you can clean it up. I think that would be the bet is that, maybe we can get this to clean up. The catch and shoot looks at 38%. That makes me feel a little bit better, right? It's not a broken jumper. In terms of comps, the guy that came to mind was Scoot Henderson, which you could say, third pick in the draft a couple years ago. That's pretty good. But he's struggled a lot in Portland because he's not a super big guy. He's not an above the rim finisher. And as awesome as that first step is, and as impressive as he can look at times, there's not enough to round out his game. Like, he doesn't have a reliable outside shot. And he's and if he's not on the ball, he doesn't have much utility on offense. And then defensively, we could talk about the potential there, but until it comes together, there's nothing there. And it's going to take a lot of coaching on that end to get him to a point where he's making an impact consistently at the NBA level. So, I say Scoot Henderson kind of in a bad way, even though I still kind of like Scoot Henderson, but that's sort of where I was. Maybe if he hits his peak, it's maybe like DeJounte Murray with a better first step. It's a pretty good player.
It is.
Yeah. So the physical profile is a lot. It's like DeJounte Murray who plays like Scoot Henderson right now. And it's a little disconnected for me. So if I'm being honest, I'm not super high on him. If we do the bust or must scale, I've got him 40% fringe, 40% role rotation player. And then I've got I only go this high because of Rafael Barlow, 19% all-star. That might be too high. There's a high degree of pop variability with him where it could just click. It could just work, and then boom, and you're and then he's DeJounte Murray with a better first step. And yep, that's an all-star caliber player right there. I've also got 1% all NBA because I felt like I had to put something in there because if it all clicks, but we're talking about 1 out of 100 chances. You know what I mean? Like, that's not high. So I'm not super high on this guy, but I would love to be wrong because he's really fun to watch.
Fair enough.
All right, so that was the homework I did. David, you did the homework on Danny Wolf out of Michigan. We're going to talk about him next. Could the Heat take the next Josh McRoberts in the draft? Don't get too excited, people. We'll talk about that next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Dash Pass. NBA fans, you know what time it is? Well, that's right. It's playoff season. And that means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the Heat with a slam dunk deal to Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA Finals. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. And anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more and use the code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. And the offer is valid noon to midnight the day after the game. You ever looked at your delivery fees and thought, well, you know what? There's got to be a better way. Well, with Dash Pass, you get $0 delivery fees and exclusive perks like this one and many more. How much would you like to save over the course of a regular season? So here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass. You unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 points or more in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 plus order and the code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply, and we'll be right back.
All right, David, you did the homework on Danny Wolf out of Michigan. Start at the top.
Yeah, 6'11", 250 with a 7'2" wingspan, 21 years old. Not too old, not too young, just kind of right there in that smack dab in that middle area there. And there's still enough. I don't know that we're seeing a lot of potential from him or unrealized potential because I think he's kind of capped out on a lot of what he can bring to the NBA level. That Josh McRoberts comp, I mentioned it today when we were figuring out exactly how we were going to structure this episode. And I don't see it. I don't know what that is. Because Rick Roberts had like pretty high level athleticism. That
I'm
is
gonna
not
go
something
back. I
Danny
watched
Wolf.
the film on Danny Wolf a little bit more too. I'm gonna go back on the Josh McRoberts comp.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily
Danny
work.
Wolf does not possess that athleticism. Like, he's 7 feet. I mean, they're calling him a legit 7-footer. I think that's not quite accurate, but either way, he's a big with
Let's see
good
the way he
passing
measured it.
chops. And that's really what it is with him. It's that he has great court vision. He sees the floor, great hustle. He just has a knack for understanding the way the game is played at the next level and sees the plays before they're happening. He sees cutters. He sees the open lanes. Even with him, like, he does not have elite or anywhere close to elite athleticism, but he can get to the rim. He's sneaky in his ability to just kind of create that first step when he's on face-ups or whether or not he's curling around on screens. Like, they made plays for him. They created plays for him as a 7-footer and set screens for him. That's not something maybe that we'll see often at the NBA level, but at the same time, I think he was able to capitalize on these things collegiately, and that was impressive. Like, to see a man, a big like that, be able to put the floor down again with not in possession of elite level athleticism, still able to make plays for himself and for others, and that's, I think, it's really where it caps off. Like, he's a decent shooter. 34%ish around there at the collegiate level, pretty decent volume, but the mechanics are fine. It didn't seem like he just had a lot of opportunities there, or wasn't the strength of his game where he sees himself necessarily as a shooter. I could see him improving in that regard at the NBA level. So I think that's an area of improvement, but it's also one that shows some promise because, again, like I said, the mechanics are fine even for a 7-footer. So that's a definite strength in his favor because as a big who could space the floor, who can make plays, there's a lot to like there. But as far as what I don't like, yeah, go for it, man.
Was he used mostly at power forward at Michigan, or was he their center?
No, he was their 4, basically.
Basically, they're 4. Okay, so you mentioned the height there. At the combine, he measured in at 6'10.5" without shoes, so pretty close to 7 feet tall. But to your point, probably not a true 7-footer. Rafael Barlow ranked him 24th on his big board, but you're seeing him move up the rankings. I think the Ringer had him in as at 12 or 13 or something like that on their latest. Why do you think it is that he's moving up so much? Because you're not seeing it.
I'm not. I think it's just his possession of a skill. Like, he's a unique player because he's such a good passer at such a good size that I think everybody is just saying that there's this next level playmaking ability. You don't want to miss out on what could be a Jokic-like talent as a 7-footer who can make those kind of plays and has that kind of court vision. I don't think Wolf is that. I just don't. I don't see that comparison at all, really. It's just aside from being a big who can make plays.
Is he?
But he is.
I'm sorry. Maybe you were getting there.
No,
but
go for it.
When it comes to the passing, is it just like I've seen the highlights? There's flashy behind the back stuff. Like, I get it.
Sure.
But is he stacking those actions? Is he seeing ahead of the play, or is he just deciding to throw it behind his back because he can? Or is there a utility to it? Is there this?
No, yeah. I don't think it's just for flash sake. Like I said, I think he has actual court vision as a 7-footer where he sees plays developing and breaking down. Maybe not kind of like Draymond-esque in terms of guiding players and telling them where to stop because they see that next level in terms of the actions and stuff like that. But I think it's good court awareness. I have yet to see whether or not. I mean, I think it's going to be a skill that he'll definitely be able to bring to the league. I just don't know that he's going to be able to, with his limited athleticism. I don't know where he's going to get the opportunity. Like, he's not a starter in today's league. There's no chance. And that being the case, coming off the bench, are you going to get the opportunities for this? Who's going to go to a guy like this coming off the bench to be your playmaking center? I mean, I don't know.
And that makes me a little worried too, because the assist to turnover ratio is not awesome with him either. So if he's doing it in smaller doses as a sort of utility bench player, that could be a problem. What other cons do you have? Just
almost everything defensively. He's okay defensively. Like, he has some anticipation skills. He doesn't have the lateral quickness. He can't move very well. He's big enough to guard guys, but he doesn't have like possess of great strength or anything like that. Without the quickness, he just doesn't tie it all together. There's some good anticipation and block shots. I saw some nice plays where he recovered well, was able to kind of snatch those and alter shots because of his size and length. But guys at the league can finish at such a high level. Again, I don't know that that's going to translate. And aside from that, like just the idea of the athleticism not being there. Sneaky, but not athletic.
He kind of moves like a Roomba. Just low to the ground, just sort of on the ground in one direction a lot.
Purposeful, I guess. Yeah, maybe.
Purposeful, yeah.
He's utilitarian in his movement, I guess that's
when I watched him play, and I don't know if it's just because he goes to the same school as Franz Wagner and he's the same sort of shade, but he does remind me a little of like Franz Wagner doing a Paolo Banchero impression.
Oof.
And I don't necessarily mean that in a good way or a bad way. It's just like aesthetically, that's sort of what it looks like to me.
Yeah, if you're a really slow, poor athlete trying to create scoring opportunities like Paolo does, yeah, I could see that.
Exactly. What player comps did you come up with?
Oh, that was a tough one for me because I don't know, like. I saw the Ringer had Hito Turkoglu.
Mm-hmm.
They also listed him as Mo Wagner, not Franz Wagner there, because I guess Mo collegiately did have some awareness there, and he just wasn't a stiff or anything like that. He was a high-level collegiate player. Just it's turned into basically a role player, a fouling role player at the NBA level. I kind of see Matt Bonner also in terms of his skill, but he's not the shooter that Bonner is, so he's not quite like the Red Rocket is. But in terms of
he Kyle Anderson-y?
Yeah, I could see that. Playing at his own pace, but much bigger, and even I can't say slower necessarily, but he's just bigger than he is too.
Tough to be slower.
So, yeah.
Tough.
So
like a chunkier Kyle Anderson.
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson from Wisconsin.
Yes.
Like cheese curd Kyle Anderson. Okay. Buster Muscale.
I've got 0 All-Star, 0 All-NBA. I've got 45 fringe. I'm sorry, 45% rotation player, because maybe we're the right team with the right level of shooting and playmaking. I could see him being like fun if he's kicking it out to these shooters, etc. I've got 45 rotation, 25 fringe, and I got 30% plus. Like I could just see that because of the lack of athleticism. I'm so surprised to see him ranked as high as he does, and maybe it's just a skill set again, but I mean, I don't know. Like Jake LaRavia was a guy who was highly touted a couple of years ago. And again, I mean, maybe that's not the right comparison in the way that they play their games, but LaRavia's athleticism definitely does not translate to the NBA level. And he had to spend time in the G League, et cetera. So, I mean, if you want to waste the 20th pick on this guy, go for it.
You get in trouble when you're like, could this guy be the next Jokic? It's very similar when everybody was looking for their Draymond a few years ago. And you get into a lot of trouble when you start thinking like, oh, this guy could be the next that, where most of the time these guys aren't those things ever, right? Those guys are rare for a reason. So now that there's got to be in other words, there has to be another reason why you talk yourself into some player, right? And I think I'm a little bit higher on Wolf than you are.
Yeah, sure.
But
I think you're just higher in the draft in general than I am. And so I see these players.
You do. You're like, what's even the point?
Panning out.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 more prospects that we want to get to. Ben Saraf and Hugo Gonzalez. A couple more traditional playmaking type point guards. One of them who really pops in the pick and roll. We'll talk about them both next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and so many other expenses, well, it's easy to lose track. But that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Believe me, when you start using Monarch, you will realize just how much you're spending on things that you probably don't need to spend it on, whether it's food delivery, entertainment, maybe even wasting some on groceries and things like that you could probably find a way to cut out. Well, guess what? Monarch Money will help you budget smarter and save you more money. And it's the all-in-one convenience. You'll find that so useful. Instead of juggling multiple apps, You just use Monarch to check all your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We'll be right back.
I did the homework on Ben Saraf. We'll be quick with these last two. Saraf, 19-year-old point guard, 6'6", with a 6'7" wingspan, about 200 pounds. Played in Ulm last year, which is a pretty high-level international league. Rafael Barlow really likes the prospects out of that league. He has Saraf ranked 29th on his board. The stats are pretty good, but what really jumps out is the finishing, the playmaking, and some of the scoring. Lefty scorer, crafty, really poised when he's driving. He wears 77, and you could see that he watches a lot of Luka. And I'm not making the comparison, but you could see where the influences are in sort of the way that he moves, the deceleration, the angles. He has really good footwork, really soft touch when he gets into the lane. Like, that's the stuff where you kind of start to see it a little bit. He's really like fiery, competitive type. So you can kind of see that, okay, this is why he wears 77. You could tell he kind of looks at this guy. I love the competitiveness. I love that he takes pride in his pick and roll playmaking. Like, he takes a lot of pride in that. Gets really excited when he delivers a good pass and, you know, he spoon feeds somebody a easy shot at the basket or whatever it is. Gets that real deep penetration and can make that skip pass to the corner. He's got the Halliburton jump pass, which makes me a little nervous because it's like your assist to turnover ratio wasn't awesome. Are you doing this just because it's flashy? But I like the fieriness out of it. I like that he has fun with it. I'm mostly pro, but it makes me a little nervous sometimes. Some of the cons, not a great athlete. He's definitely a below the rim finisher. He's not going to be finishing at or above the rim. And with that lack of athleticism, he might struggle to create separation at the NBA level, but we're not going to know it until we do. I think he'll be mostly okay in terms of getting his shot off. Again, the angles, the deceleration, the footwork, the soft touch. I think I'd feel pretty okay about that stuff. Big con, the shooting percentages, not good. 42, 22, 78 shooting splits. You would like him to be a way more productive, especially with the high usage role that he had in Ulm. But I also like that they gave him the chances at Ulm. So it kind of goes both ways. But for him, the outside shooting is a swing skill. Low percentage overall. But he did make 37.5% on spot-up threes. So the pull-up stuff wasn't great. Spot-up threes was a little bit better. Defense could end up being an issue at the next level. My question with him, is he good enough to be your number one guy? Your number one on-ball guy? Because if he's not, then you start running into issues of, well, what is he off the ball? If that outside shot necessarily isn't there, what does he become? Or do we think the outside shot is there? How does he perform in shooting drills? Do we think we can transition him more into that secondary type of playmaker? And that's a tough spot because you're like, okay, well then who are the player comps for him that have worked out? Because he might wear 77 to be Luka, but he ain't Luka, you know? So then you start thinking of like, all right, what are the versions of that have worked? And you think about like a Vasily Micic, didn't really work out, you know? Those are kind of the comps. The one that I do like for a comp with him, though, I've seen D'Angelo Russell out there a little bit. Goran Dragic, to me. It's like a Goran Dragic D-Lo combo for me at the high end. And then at the low end, it's like a Micic type where it's like, I'm not really sure where this guy fits in. So bust or must, 40% fringe, 60% roll rotation player. I didn't make enough out of the playmaking. The guy's an awesome pick and roll playmaker. Like, awesome. Like, he will be able to run a second offense, I think. I don't know if at a super high level, maybe not at a six-man of the year level, but he should be able to run an offense, at least your second offense. So 40% fringe, 60% roll rotation player. I got a little 4% all-star sprinkled in just for fun, 0% all-NBA. But the thing I really like about him, too, he's got this great mustache goatee combo that I feel like we haven't seen in the league in quite a long time. And if he could just play in the league for a few years and bring that back, I think that could be a big plus.
Okay. All right. I don't know that that's something necessarily a priority for Miami's front office. Do you think they should make it a priority?
It's not something that I think Pat Riley was asked in the exit interviews, so there's no way to know for real.
the policy on facial hair moving forward? Like, is that enough for them to? I mean, that I think we know their approach to next season. We just recorded an episode about whether or not Miami should take a gap year. If there's drafting people for facial hair, I think that kind of sets the tone.
There's nobody in the league that has the mustache goatee combo other than like. Does LaMelo have it? Is it separated?
Saric?
Dario Saric. Is he even in the league?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I forgot what team. He was in
LaMelo
Denver.
has it. LaMelo has it, but LaMelo doesn't have it as that mustache is barely there. It's more peach fuzz.
Yes. Yeah, it's wispy. It's not really
wispy. Dario Saric is, but Saric has it, but he doesn't let the beard part grow out necessarily.
Fair enough.
Saraf will let that beard come out a little bit, which is good.
Okay.
All right. Hugo Gonzalez is up.
Yeah, 19 years old from Real Madrid, 6'6". I don't think he had wingspan measurables, or at least none that I found. But anyway, still young, still developed, about 200 pounds or so. Athletic build, good passer, decent awareness, not a good shooter. The mechanics are fine, at least in terms of what I saw out there. The numbers were not good, so he just didn't have a lot of opportunity. That's the biggest mark when everybody talks about. They're talking themselves into this Hugo guy because they see enough talent, they see enough there, and the age is just right. But he also played on a pretty stacked Real Madrid team. Did you know that Serge Ibaka was still playing professional basketball?
No,
because I sure as heck didn't. He's over at Real Madrid along with Dennis Smith Jr. and a couple others. So I mean, that was a pretty loaded team, and they were highly competitive. And so, despite having this 19-year-old player that's been part of the Real Madrid system for over 10 plus years, he just hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity at this professional club level. So, but there's still potential there. Nobody's lost hope yet that he's going to be able to translate. We just haven't seen it against high-level competition, and so there are concerns about whether or not he's going to be one of these European players that just winds up becoming a bust and not really being able to. I mean, look, he has some flash to his game. He has some of that same cockiness, so there are some things to like there. But at the same time, without the actual experience, it's just too much of an unknown factor. And so I've seen him anywhere from like mid-20s to kind of in the 40s in terms of some mock drafts. So there's a lot of questions there about whether or not he can become an NBA level player. Defensively, he just lacks that kind of awareness. It's not necessarily a focus. He's just is not always aware of where he is when he's defending somebody, and so he can get back cut to death. We saw it. I saw it anyway on a number of the highlights that I was watching, and it's not always great. The skills there, the athleticism. He's got the body type. There's a lot to say, you know what, it could translate, but it could also flop pretty badly. My player comp for him is another guy who wound up going in that same direction. Well, that's Mario Hezonja. I remember doing the scouting report on him with you years ago and thinking how atypical it would be for Miami to even go that route in terms of drafting a European player. He wound up, of course, being selected a lot higher than that by the Orlando Magic that same year. That was the Justice Winslow draft. And at the same time, Hezonja was this phenom at the European level who was supposed to take it to the next level. Clearly, that never happened. And he just never wound up tying everything together. I don't know if it was just too much ego or just the instability in Orlando or a combination of many factors, but it just never worked out for him here. And you wonder whether or not Gonzalez is going to fall into the same trap. So that's basically it. In terms of the bust or must scale, I could see him being a rotation player, maybe about 20%. No chance at all-star. Maybe, you know what? I'll change that. If somehow it all ties together because he's so young, even I can convince myself, I'll give him a 3% chance. So let's say 3% chance at all-star. Fringe player, most likely. Role player. I'd say fringe player, maybe about whatever's left. A bust altogether. I don't think he'll be a bust. I could see him being one of these cats that just dips his toes in the NBA waters and goes, you know what? It's not for me.
I don't need it. I'm going
and
back.
That being the case, I'll go back and I'll flourish there. And I'll make lots of money and I'll live a good life playing professional basketball. What's not to love about that? So that's more where I see the career trajectory.
So Rafael Barlow, recap really quick. He had Nolan Traore, who was our first prospect that we talked about. He had him ranked 14th. He had Danny Wolf 24th. Hugo Gonzalez is 26th, and he had Ben Saraf at 29. David, do you like any of these guys for the Heat at 20?
You kind of talked me into Traore, but
Really?
not really. Yeah, a little bit. The potential, if you swing and it just works out, you can kind of get everything to work. I mean, that's what the draft is.
Yeah.
Very few of the players that we've been we're looking at number 20 just really pop. I mean, everyone really likes the idea of Walter Clay because he won a championship at UF, and yet, I mean, I think he's dropping down a number of boards there. So I just, even the players that our fans really like might not be a good fit at number 20. It might be a little bit of a reach. And all these players that we're talking about, there's a lot of questions to them. There's a lot of potential too. I mean, I think Traore fits in that kind of category. Gonzalez as well.
When you think of the last time Miami picked this low, it was Jovic, right? That was the last time Miami picked in the 20s in the first round, and he was just like the shape of an NBA player.
Yeah,
very, very raw, right?
We did our scouting report that night.
We did. We were like, who the heck is this guy? So we're trying to be a little bit more thorough with our blue notebooks these last couple of years. But if you look at all, I think Danny Wolf's he might end up going higher than 20 based on where you see him in some of these projections. It wouldn't shock me also if NBA teams shared the same concerns about his athleticism and his ceiling, and he ended up falling to the second round. Like, we see that kind of stuff happen all the time. I think Saraf has an NBA skill in terms of just being able to run pick and roll with that size. That could be something I could see. I wouldn't, again, when we're talking about 20, to your point, it's slim pickings here, right? You're not Cooper flagging and dropping a 20. So you're kind of just left with okay, does this guy do anything that we like? And with Nolan Traore, he also could be a guy who gets picked higher than 20, but if he's there, I could see Miami being like, I like the wingspan, quick first step. I don't know. Best guy on the board, because it does really depend on who's on the board. That'll do it for us today. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.